And Disney decided to hire the most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth.
Other movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
The Walt Disney Company has been under intense scrutiny in recent months, and the heat is only increasing. But it's not just the usual concerns that come with running a massive corporation. No, the real firestorm is over Disney CEO Bob Iger and his handling of one of the most controversial projects in recent memory, the Snow White live-action remake. A storm of behind-the-scenes drama, budget overruns, and public outcry has led to a situation so intense that the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, is now officially investigating Disney. But what exactly went wrong? Why is Bob Iger, the once beloved leader of Disney, now at the center of a full-blown crisis? Let's break down the shocking details. The Snow White remake was supposed to be a game-changer. Disney's classic animated film from 1937 is one of the most beloved in the company's history, and a live-action remake was a chance to bring the fairy tale to a new generation. But from the moment the first casting choices were revealed, it became clear that Disney wasn't just remaking a beloved classic, they were attempting to reshape it for modern sensibilities. At the forefront of this reimagined Snow White was Rachel Zegler, the young actress who had gained fame for her role in West. Side story, but casting Zegler was a decision that would stir up controversy before filming even began. Fans of the original Snow White were already uneasy about the changes Disney was making to the character. Zegler's portrayal of Snow White would be radically different from the one audiences had come to know and love. Instead of the traditional princess, this Snow White was going to be empowered, independent, and modern. But these changes weren't just about Snow White. They extended to other key elements of the story, like the Seven Dwarfs. In an attempt to be more progressive, Disney scrapped the classic dwarfs in favor of new characters, including magical creatures, which caused further uproar among fans who felt that the story's core elements were being sacrificed for the sake of political correctness. However, what really raised eyebrows was Zegler's public stance on the entire project. Rather than embracing the magic and nostalgia of the original, she made multiple comments that alienated traditional Disney fans, openly criticizing the fairy tale themes she was tasked with portraying. This only fueled speculation that Disney had lost sight of what made Snow White a timeless classic in the first place. As the production moved forward, it quickly became clear that the Snow White remake was facing far more than just public backlash. Reports started emerging about on-set chaos that would make any film studio shudder. Sources say that Zegler, already under intense pressure as the lead actress, had a full-blown meltdown on set. The details remain hazy, but the damage was reportedly severe enough to cause major disruptions in the production process. Crew members described an atmosphere of utter chaos, with constant rewrites and last-minute changes to the script, which led to confusion and frustration among the cast and crew. What was supposed to be a streamlined, organized process turned into a constant game of catch-up. The result? A production that seemed to lack any unifying creative vision. At the heart of this turmoil was Zegler's meltdown, which, according to insiders, wasn't just a moment of personal frustration. It was a full-blown incident that damaged parts of the set and sent production into a tailspin. Some reports claimed that entire sections of the set had to be scrapped or repaired due to the fallout from the incident. Can you imagine? A multi-million-dollar set being ruined over behind-the-scenes drama. Enter Bob Iger. The man who has led Disney through some of its most iconic moments was now at the center of a crisis that seemed to threaten the very future of the company. As the production chaos escalated, Iger, who had been known for his calm and measured approach to leadership, was forced to address the situation head-on. But instead of offering the usual corporate spin, Iger admitted that the production of Snow White was far more turbulent than anyone could have predicted. He didn't sugarcoat the reality. The project was plagued by issues, from budget overruns to creative disagreements, and the whole thing was threatening to spiral out of control. In a rare moment of transparency, Iger even acknowledged that the film's direction had changed multiple times throughout production, leading to a lack of cohesion in the final product. And let's not forget about the sheer cost of this film, which was already ballooning towards a staggering $300 million. The pressure on Iger and his team to deliver a blockbuster was mounting, and it was becoming clear that the fallout from the Snow White project could have far-reaching consequences. So, what happens when a film that was supposed to be a major success turns into a complete disaster? For Disney, it meant a serious blow to their live-action remake strategy. If Snow White failed to live up to expectations, it could signal the end of the company's reliance on remaking its animated classics into live-action films. Industry analysts began doing the math. Could Disney recover from the failure of Snow White? Would other studios take note of the debacle and steer clear of working with Zegler in the future? After all, if her behavior and the behind-the-scenes chaos were so public, how could other filmmakers and production companies possibly trust her? The damage wasn't just financial. Disney's reputation, especially with fans of the original Snow White, was at risk. The tension between honoring the legacy of the original story and modernizing it for today's audience had never been more apparent. The film was being criticized for trying to do too much, appealing to progressive sensibilities while alienating longtime fans of Disney's classic tales. As the drama unfolded, Disney made a decision that many industry insiders deemed necessary, but also risky. They went back to the drawing board. The studio authorized multiple rounds of reshoots, costing even more money and time. These reshoots were not just about fixing minor issues. They were about reworking entire portions of the film, rethinking the third act, and reshaping the film's tone. The result? The film's budget continued to rise, and while the reshoots and repairs seemed necessary to salvage the project, they only fueled further speculation about the film's quality. Could this patchwork approach really produce a finished product that would appeal to audiences? Would the chaotic production be reflected on screen? With Snow White now facing serious financial pressure, Disney was under the microscope more than ever. The company had to somehow manage to promote the film, despite the behind-the-scenes controversies, and recoup the huge costs involved. As more leaks and rumors surfaced, the film's marketing strategy had to evolve. Disney couldn't afford to focus on the drama. They needed to focus on what would get audiences into theaters. The Snow White remake became a case study in the complexities of modern filmmaking, especially when dealing with beloved classics. Would it survive the fallout from its own production, or would it be remembered as one of the biggest misfires in Disney's history? As Disney moves toward the final stages of Snow White's release, questions remain about whether the studio will be able to recover from the disaster. Is Bob Iger's leadership at risk? Can Disney salvage its live-action remake strategy? Or will this be a cautionary tale of what happens when a legacy property is handled poorly? What do you think? Will Snow White end up being a hit despite all the chaos? Or will it be remembered as one of Disney's biggest mistakes? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest Disney news and entertainment drama.